Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining today's webinar. My name is Sonia Siddiqui, and joining me today again is Gia Gupta from RBC. Hi, Gia. You're muted. I'm going to unmute you. Hi, Gia. Gia, are you able to hear me? You're muted. Okay, we'll wait for Gia to get back online. She's still muted right now. But I'm just going to get started and let you know what today's webinar is going to be about. So it's RBC's workshop series, Job Search 101. And Gia had done a workshop with us previously as well. And it was very well done. So we're happy to have her back here today. And just so you know that you are all on listen only mode, so we will not be able to hear you, but Gia will be answering your questions towards the end of the presentation. So please type your questions into the Q&A tab, and Gia will take your questions after. For best results, please use a laptop or a desktop computer using Google Chrome as your browser. And there is a survey at the end of the webinar. Please do fill it out, letting us know how we can better improve our webinars moving forward. And the webinar will be recorded, and you will get a recording sometime within the next 48 hours. So stay tuned for that as well. And I'm just going to tell you a little bit about ACCESS. We've been around for over 30 years helping job seekers such as yourself. And just in the past year alone, we were able to serve over 34,000 job seekers. We work with over 2,200 employers, different organizations, associations, community partners, and sponsors such as RBC. RBC hosts 2 webinars with us every month. And we also share a common space in our Markham office where RBC has one of their meeting places as well. We have 30 tailored programs, which include our sector-specific bridging programs as well. And we've got 7 locations in the GTA. Currently, our main location that is helping everyone out is our virtual online space. So all of our programs are being held online. So take advantage of that, and please sign up for our programs so that you don't have to commute. You can do everything from the comfort of your own home, and we can start helping you with your job search without coming into the office. So take advantage of that. And Gia, if you're able to unmute yourself and speak now, I'm going to transfer you host privileges so you can share your screen.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I hope you can hear me.
Yes.
Perfect. So thank you so much, Sonia. I'm really excited to be here today. Just being part of this journey takes me back to the time when I embarked on the same journey. So welcome everyone to Job Search 101. And I'm really excited. Hopefully we'll get some takeaways from this presentation. Thank you so much, Sonia, for introducing me. And definitely ACCESS and RBC, we're working hand in hand because success for newcomers means success for Canada and definitely success for all of us. I hope you're all staying safe and really enjoying this journey. So I'm just going to start off with talking a bit about myself and go on to the next slide. So just wanted to speak very briefly about myself. My name is Gia. I am a banking advisor at RBC, and I landed in Canada in 2015 with dreams in my eyes too. So I'm from India, and my journey into the workspace started when I decided that I want to join the Canadian workforce. And again, as when you start, you don't know where to start from. There are so many resources. And just like all the newcomers with no Canadian experience and pretty much didn't have a safety net, no one to help me, but I did, kind of do my research. And that's what you're doing today. You're actually stepping out of your comfort zone and looking to find ways that can take you to the next step. So that's what I tried to do. I looked at whatever the existing resources were. There were bridging courses, ACCESS Employment has a whole host of information, some courses as well. And one of the things that sometimes gets overlooked is immigration centers. So where I am in Whitby, that's in the Durham area, we have a whole host of immigration centers. And immigration centers offer a variety of programs. So for me, just because I felt I wanted to get a handle on Canadian communication, I enrolled in the enhanced language training course. So it was access to communication, exposure to the Canadian work environment. And the best part was that we had people come in and talk about what it was to work in the Canadian work environment, what were the good things about the culture, how we could integrate ourselves. And based on that, I was able to land an internship at BMO. Bank of Montreal. I worked there as a CSR. So even with little or no knowledge about the Canadian banking system, I just wanted to showcase that I was excited about working, right? I wanted to learn. That just gave me an opportunity to be in front of the recruiting manager, the branch manager, and I was able to showcase my passion. Based on that experience, I ended up landing an interview at RBC, where I am today, and I just started working here. Again, the job, like the progression of your job search doesn't stop when you have landed a job. In fact, that's a good time for you to settle in and then start exploring other avenues. So again, based on that, I have now started making sure that I am able to give my time back to the community and help people on their search in this wonderful journey as well. So let's go ahead. So basically, this program is based on RBC's commitment to the youth. It's tailored usually to the age frame of 15 to 30 years, and it's called RBC Future Launch. With everything going digital these days, we're excited to offer you the opportunity to do a lot of stuff from home. And if you get the time, definitely I recommend going to this website, rbc.com Future Launch at Home. It's got a plethora of good options. Good things that I like about it is it gives you opportunities to learn new things. And that's a good way of networking. So supposing you learned a new skill, you learned something in a new technology, you did a certificate in customer service or something, you can definitely put that on LinkedIn and create some buzz about yourself. If you are able to join a certain network or you're able to use Prepped. So I'm actually going to talk about the kind of Canadian resume that you can look at. I'm going to share with you a template, and the template and all the resources are available on the RBC Future Launch at Home website. There are videos as well. So don't worry if you feel that I'm sharing something with you on the discussion and you don't have it, you can get it definitely from the Future Launch at Home. So these are basically the programs. And I just want you to step back for a second and also basically focus on the mental health aspect as well. Sometimes when we get caught up in the job search, like me, when I was on LinkedIn during this COVID-19 time, and I was looking for different opportunities, it just becomes, 24/7. You're getting up, you're checking your LinkedIn feed, you're applying to jobs. So you also need to focus on that mental well-being aspect. Just step back, take a deep breath. There is light at the end of the tunnel for sure. Sometimes it does take a little longer, but hopefully with a few tips and tricks, even if it's longer, you will definitely end up where you want to be. And even if you are where you want to be, that's not the end. There's always something else that can happen after that. So let's go ahead. So what we're here today is we're going to talk about your resume. It's important. And I want to also, when we'll talk about the resume, briefly touch on more innovative ways where you can present yourself. Our focus is on finding jobs. So, and just while researching for this career session, I actually went on ACCESS Employment's website as well. And I was actually pleasantly surprised that they have listed job site boards against different industries. There's even a job site board for youth. Sometimes there is one for women as well. Whenever we're looking for the jobs, we're just focused on maybe Indeed and LinkedIn. But that's where 100% of the people are applying, right? You want to find a niche for yourself where you are applying, where the jobs aren't, just accessible to everyone. So we'll talk about maybe the aspect of networking, where we can find jobs. And then the next is applying for jobs. How do you tailor your resume, or how you get ahead and apply for jobs, even network, ask for informational interviews. We'll talk about interviewing for jobs. Basically, what does a Canadian work interview look like? What are the things that we can focus on? And especially now, since everything is digital, I am sitting at one end of Toronto and Sonia sitting at the other end. It's all virtual these days. So we'll talk about maybe a few tips for digital interviews. I have been working a lot from home, and I've had the time to basically iron out all the kinks in the last 6 months of working from home. And the best part is, if through all these tips and tricks, you do end up getting a job, congratulations, very excited for you. Just how you can integrate yourself into the work environment, gel well with your colleagues, and then, that's not the last step. We're definitely looking for the next one. So we'll start off. So before we go ahead, I wanted to talk very briefly about introducing yourself. So this is basically an opportunity for you to have an elevator pitch. So definitely through this entire workshop, I want you to take this away, spend some time and create an elevator pitch or an introduction for yourself. So basically what you can basically focus on is, you can focus on your background, your years of experience, your education, what skills you have, maybe even what values you have. A lot of times, like maybe you started your first job, and on the first day of your job, like you're surrounded by your whole team, and your manager says, okay, guys, welcome, and let's have so-and-so introduce themselves. So you don't want to be scrambling for words. Supposing you're going for a virtual job fair, that's the first question. Even if you're sending out a LinkedIn invite, so a lot of times, and I'm guilty of that too, we'll send out LinkedIn invites without actually trying to find out what is common between us and the person we are reaching out to. So again, that's a pitch for you. And this can also help you in writing your cover letter. What you're verbalizing can be used as part of your cover letter as well. So I definitely want you to focus, maybe pen and paper, just even, your computer, just write down this pitch. It doesn't need to ramble on for 5 minutes. I'm going to give you a few examples, but the main and important aspect here is that we talk about background, years of experience, education, and skills. And I've been guilty of this many times as well. Like, we're just having lunch, and there's a manager who comes in, and, he's someone who I would like to work with. You're always looking to upskill and upgrade and looking for the next opportunity. And they just say, I'm so excited to meet you today. Do you want to tell me a bit about yourself? And then you're scrambling for words. So always have this in like your back pocket, that you can, recite this verbatim anytime. Like even in the middle of the night, if someone says, hey, can you tell me a bit about yourself? You have that down pat. So I'm going to go over 2 examples about how we can talk about ourselves. It doesn't need to be similar to this. Maybe you can write down at the end of it if maybe somebody wants to share 1 or 2 introduction pieces. We can go over that as well. So what I focused here on was 2 different ways of talking. Somebody who feels more comfortable in introducing themselves and talking about themselves, or just feels more comfortable, can even say, I'm very excited to have this opportunity, and then just showcase what your skills are. So here I said that I have more than 8 years experience in the financial industry, and then I wanted to focus on what am I good at? How can I differentiate myself in these 10 seconds or 20 seconds from the hundreds of people that somebody might meet every day? For a recruiting manager, it could be even hundreds of resumes, 200 resumes. Sometimes when you're looking at a job and you want to apply for a job, you see already 200 people have applied for a job. What can make you stand out? And then I said, what is my qualification? I have a master's in finance, but I also indicate that I have the investment funds in Canada certification, which shows that I am ready to integrate into the Canadian work culture and environment, and I have the qualification to do that. And what is important to me? What's important to me is that I am focused on customer service and always aim to exceed customer expectations and provide an exceptional customer experience. So this kind of actually, jogs the interviewer to even ask you, okay, once you've given them a pitch, Then they'll say, hey, can you tell me about a time when you actually exceeded customer experience? And knowing that you put this in your pitch, you probably would have prepared for it as well. Similar to that, there's another person who's talking about where they are from. They have experience, international experience, and they're focusing on creating long-term relations with clients. So this is just about what you are and what you can bring to the table as well. So if you want to write this down, take 30 seconds, think about it, and keep polishing it. The more you practice, the better it sounds. You don't want to be like, hey, I'm Gia. I think, yeah, I have 5 years experience. So you don't want to be scrambling for words. This basically sets the stage, will definitely make you feel more confident. So, I mean, obviously everyone knows what a resume is, but I want to share a few examples of Canadian resume. There are templates that are available in the RBC Prepped website. I definitely recommend downloading them, and just filling them up just makes it easier for you. So a resume is where you can, stand out from other people. But what happens if you don't have the Canadian experience? You still have experience that where you were working from, or you may not even have experience. You may be a student who's just coming in to do their further studies, so you have no experience, work experience at all. But as a student, you may have attended sporting events. You could have been a sports captain. You might have attended or created a college event. That means you're good at planning and communicating with people. So just focus on the positive, basically what you accomplished, and then that makes you feel confident, and then you are able to talk better about yourself. So a part of this resume, there's also another aspect that we kind of sometimes forget. It's called a cover letter. So remember that about you pitch that you created, that can translate to your cover letter. Make sure you add in a cover letter to every job application that you put in. We still hear from people or recruiters, especially on LinkedIn, if you're following recruiters, where they will say that they didn't get a cover letter from a lot of people. So cover letter A indicates that you took the time to prepare that document, and it would obviously include about you, a short spiel. It can also include what interests you about this company. For me, when I wanted to work with RBC, I said that I value RBC's focus on diversity and inclusion, and I definitely want to contribute to that as well. For CIBC, they want the people to focus and be on the client's path. So you want to mention that maybe I wanted to apply for this position as the values of being in the client's path resonate with me, and I'm extremely client focused. So that kind of a thing. So let's go ahead to the next one. And there's something new which I actually found out when I was looking at all these tips. Has anyone ever heard of maybe something called as an impact statement? So for a Canadian resume, you want to have a shorter resume. So obviously it doesn't include things such as hobbies. You don't want to put in your references. You leave that space for later on. Obviously, when you're creating a resume and once you do get accepted, the last part is that they always ask you for references. They do a reference check. So you want to make sure before you start giving out people's references that you reach out to them and let them know that you'll be putting their information. Maybe it's a colleague that you haven't spoken to in maybe 6 years. Maybe they change jobs and you don't have their most up-to-date email address. Now you're scrambling for that, or you don't have their telephone number. So definitely before you go ahead and start applying, make sure your references are in order. You are ready with a cover letter. So the cover letter is where you talk about what you are and what skills you can bring to the table, and then you tailor it or personalize it for each opportunity that you apply for. So you won't just say, I'm so happy to be excited to be applying for this position. You will say, I'm excited to apply for the position of internal auditor at Ernst & Young. And then you would probably write down what about yourself, and then what makes you want to apply, or what stands out for you for the company, and then what can you bring to the table. And then I wanted to talk about the impact statement very quickly, and I just want to see if I can share that with you. So this is something that I pulled off the Prepped website, and you can actually do that too. Just trying to see if it'll scroll down. Okay. So as I said, we're looking at basically saying that resumes are shorter, cover letters are short too. We don't want cover letters to go into 3 and 4 pages. An impact statement is basically a quantifiable document about what you did. So you can add your impact statement onto your cover letter as well, but basically what you focus in, what you did and how you could quantify it. So for example, for a banking advisor who is at the front helping clients cash checks, accept money, pay bills, or like a customer service representative who's doing everything, you could say that using your due diligence and compliance to anti-money laundering laws and just making sure that you practice good risk management, you were able to deter frauds of up to 100,000. So basically you talk about what the situation was, what you did, and then how could you quantify it. So for example, you could say, as a student, I actually managed an event for 4 colleges and it was attended by 4,000 people. So something like that. That just sounds better, and it can be added on, as it says here, it can be added on to your cover letter. It can be a separate document. It can be added onto your resume, but that's how you polish your resume. So we're just gonna basically, and you also want to highlight the skills that are quantifiable as such. It says, how is your degree in theater going to help you? I can act busy, definitely. But we need other things as well, right? So this is just a small template of what somebody put in as a resume. We're just going to go in and see maybe how we can correct it. And then I'll share with you what a skill-based resume can look like. And then there are templates available in the Prepped website. So if you look at this, it's something not very polished. The first thing that you want to make sure is that you proofread your resume. You make sure that the grammar is consistent and it looks pleasant. It's well formatted. So if you look at here, it says seeking a part-time job, lots of experience. I'm available. I need weekends to hang out with my friends. I mean, this is an extreme case. I'm sure a lot of us are not doing this, but it definitely doesn't put forward any skills that a recruiter might look in. What I've heard is that usually there's only like 10 seconds for a recruiter, and if that doesn't please the recruiter in those 10 seconds, you may not be able to go ahead. So we're basically saying that what's important is make sure that you have a professional email address. So you definitely don't want the partyanimal@email.com. You want professional email address. You want to make sure that you're putting in your work experience and what you did. And he's definitely talking about creativity and positivity, but they're not putting it in the right light. You make sure that you have the right number. So basically, this is how it should look at. It should highlight the skills. It should say collaboration, customer service, attention to detail. There's a lot of focus on the soft skills because you can learn the technical aspects and the transactional aspects as you're working, but the soft skills definitely will give you an edge right from day one. So here they're talking about their objective, what the summary is, and basically highlighting their skills. Even though they're a student, they don't have much experience, but they're still talking about their skills. So here I just wanted to talk about an example here. So I can just very briefly talk about this. So this is for a person named Brady. Brady is putting in his objective that they're ambitious and they have a knack for team building, positivity, and they're also focusing on the years of experience, where they have 5 years of experience working as a youth organizer. And then the main aspect here is that they are saying that they put in their years of experience, what their qualifications are. And so it doesn't have to go into pages and pages, but they're totally highlighting their skills. They're saying their skills are communication, extremely important, and that can act well for you in all the jobs that you do. Coordination and management, that's extremely important. They're talking about social perceptiveness. So they're basically highlighting all their skills. They're talking about their experience, the education, and they could talk about the activities and interests, but if you're already having a 2-pager, I would hold off on that. So as an example, and as I have said, you can easily get this at the Prepped website. So let's go up a bit. So this is easily available at the Prepped website. You can use this, download this template, and then just fill it up. So it has a couple of options. Let's see if we're able to go down. So you can put in your skills, your recent title, your diplomas, degrees, certification, your activities and interests, and this is where you could basically talk about maybe your volunteering. So when we're going to be talking about networking, I'm going to talk about the importance of volunteering. It's extremely important to give back to the community, not just for the instant gratification that you feel good about a lot of things, especially shows that you are rooted to your community, and that's extremely important in Canada. Just today on LinkedIn, I was looking at a post. So here in Toronto, Paramount Foods is a very big restaurant, and the person is very well known. He has restaurants in Mississauga and Toronto, and he posted about how he's preparing meals for 500 people and donating that food. Whereas the hospitality industry is going through so much stress, he's being positive and he's doing all these things. So what does that lead to? So I am happy to see that, someone is doing so much for the community. I'm commenting, I'm sharing. So he's creating a lot of positive buzz. So he's feeling happy that he's done something good, but it's going to help him in his business as well, because people are going to say that I want to definitely do business with someone who is doing so much for other people as well. Right? So basically, you want to make sure your email address is updated. I had an issue where I had put in my wrong phone number in my email signature. So you want to make sure that your phone numbers are correct. You want to be getting the right calls. You also must make sure that if you have a phone number, you've set up your voicemail, and the voicemail should be professional. You should write down a script, and it should be basically like, thanks for calling Gia. I'm sorry I'm unable to take your call. If you leave me a brief name and number, and I'll be happy to call you back. So definitely let the other person know that you're checking your voicemails, and make sure you return their calls as well, because no one's going to call you again and again. If you missed a call, you probably missed an opportunity as well. So let's go. Yeah. And it's important to proofread. The other thing is, on your resume, you must also make sure that you're putting in keywords from the job posting. So if the job posting is talking about banking knowledge, a particular software, a particular technology that you're good at and you know them very well, you might just want to put that in also. And the cover letter we've already talked about. And definitely, if you have any volunteering or extracurricular activities, if you've done something, you won an award, make sure that it's highlighted right at the top too. So we want to talk about social media, social presence. It's extremely important. And I actually late into the game, but really excited to be part of it. Just being virtual gives you so many opportunities. And I heard from somebody, like a recruiter, that they actually vet your social media presence as well. So you want to be careful of what you are, posting on social media. It's extremely important that you're not putting any negative posts as well. So let's look at the social media aspect of it. So these days, it's very important that you have social media aspect. You might want to use social media to your advantage. Like, you can prepare a digital resume. I'm not sure if anyone has done that. I actually kind of thought about it. I did create like a 30 seconds about myself, and I did send it in when I reached out to a recruiter that I had found on LinkedIn. So I first sent them a connect request where I actually talked about what I had experience in and what I was looking at. Once they accepted, they had posted for a job. I sent them an email. So the best part is, if they give you an email, you're replying on that email, at least you'll get their attention. And I actually inserted a video clip of myself. I'm sure there are more tech people out there who can actually add in the video clip onto the resume as well. I wouldn't recommend that for the application software. Like, if you're just applying to maybe BMO or RBC, and you might your resume might get kicked out just because it doesn't conform. But definitely, if you have someone you know who you've spoken to who's asked you for your resume, you can probably attach in a clip and say, hey, we haven't had the ability to meet face to face, just wanted you to put a face to the name. So it's an extremely advantageous situation. You can create a blog. So somebody who doesn't have experience, or you can create a blog about your journey. You can do YouTube, and like these days, every time I go on YouTube, I'm sharing about experience in Canada, first snow in Canada, how I got a job in Canada in COVID. So you're helping other people, and you can create a presence for yourself, which can actually be a niche for yourself. 55% of recruiters consider a candidate, and they reconsider the candidate based on their social media profile. If you have a employer who's using social media, you might tag them on LinkedIn. Hey, so you could say, I did so and so, or I volunteered here at RBC. You could use a hashtag, something like that, right? So those are good opportunities which you can leverage on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. So the important part now is you're set up with your resume, you've prepared a Canadian style resume, you have your cover letter, you've put in your impact statement. Now you're ready to find and look for jobs. So what are the best ways to find jobs? Earlier, we did have an option to do in-person. COVID has basically kind of pushed that back, but you still have opportunities where there are physical job fairs, though they are all now moving virtual, like we are having a lot of virtual job fairs. Just a couple of days ago, I saw on LinkedIn that they were advertising that CIBC is having a virtual job fair for mortgage agents. RBC sometimes will mention that they are having a job fair. And one of the good things that you can do on LinkedIn is to follow RBC Meeting Place, especially in Toronto. We have this team dedicated to look after newcomer needs, and they're having daily sessions, and then they also are mentors who can help you. That's another aspect of networking. In the past, you also could have had an opportunity to maybe go to a bank or grocery store or even Dollarama and drop off your resume in person. That might not be happening right now, but you definitely might have some stores such as Home Hardware, Home Depot, who say, okay, looking for advisors, apply within. So that's when you can actually give them your resume. So anywhere that you're applying for jobs, it's the same. You always must maintain the same kind of the modus operandi. Have your resume, cover letter, dress professionally, have that professional etiquette of communication, and that will just work well for you. So you could actually look for jobs in person, as I said. And the other aspect is networking. Networking is really exciting and huge. So I'm just going to go through some tips on how you can increase your network, because coming from another country, you may not know as many people as you would like to. But definitely with LinkedIn, you can create an all-star profile. You can join forums. I've joined a couple of forums, and I've seen that sometimes jobs are posted on that. And if you're commenting and you're making or creating a presence for yourself in those forums, you'll definitely get noticed, and you might end up getting an opportunity. What I did when I was looking for some opportunities was that I reached out to recruiters, like for example in Aerotech or Robert Half, directly using my invite. And I told them very clearly that I am in this field and I'm looking for more opportunities, and I actually had them call back. We had interviews, and then they reached out and they actually started working for me. They started looking for positions, and then they reached out to me and they said, hey, there's a position, do you want to apply? So now you've cut through so many layers because you're directly talking to the recruiter, and sometimes you build up such good rapport that can actually help you stand out from so many people, because you're actually getting to talk to them over the phone or face to face as well. Make sure that your profile is updated, and you're joining forums, job fairs, virtual job fairs every day. You can look at them. You can also reach out to alumni, so people who are from your university, your college, your school who are in Canada. You can send them a request through LinkedIn again. You can actually sign up to do volunteer at volunteer.ca. You can sign up for Charity Village. Charity Village is an option where you can sign up for non-profit, these kind of things. So there's your opportunity to just create some sort of buzz for yourself, and make sure you always have that about yourself, right? And then on prep, you can definitely go on prep. Prep has a lot of resources which can help you on your job search too. And yeah, we are going to go through the questions. Someone is just saying that their application never reaches a recruiter because there are hundreds of people. So, I feel the same way, and I usually used to feel the same way. So definitely what you need to do is work on maybe the keywords. There's always an application tracking system which, will try to match what your resume is. It a good match to what the job description is? So you want to make sure that your resume is tailored to what the job description is. Yes, sometimes it might mean that you're making or changing your resume for each job that you're applying for, but it does work out in the end. If you're in the financial field, you might look to upskill yourself, take LinkedIn assessments, do free courses, and then update it on your LinkedIn. You'll create more buzz. Reach out to recruiters directly. As I said, Robert Half, Aerotech. Comment on somebody maybe who's like supposing an RBC meeting place. So create your online presence. A few things that people usually kind of forget about is the employment center and the career site. If you're in a school, definitely your school has a lot of opportunities for internships and job profiles, and the employment center or the YMCAs and the immigration centers. The best part about this is people who are coming there are receptive to somebody who doesn't have a lot of Canadian experience. I myself had joined the enhanced language course at the immigration center, and we had people coming in who were giving their time, and they were receptive. They would give us a lot of tips as well. So these are the places where you can definitely look for jobs. So don't just focus on Indeed, LinkedIn, Iluta. In fact, go to Access Employment. They have job boards, different job boards too. I didn't even know half the job boards. So as I said, it's important always to make a first impression, and we'll talk about the digital interviewing as well. And always make sure you have a copy of your resume, a digital or a hard copy, and always be prepared for an on-the-spot. You just don't know if that one conversation can lead to a job actually. So this is what I was actually talking about. So I think we went over this already. You can also see TRIAC. TRIAC allows you for mentorship opportunities. You get matched to a mentor who can give you tips, but I think you have to be in Canada before that. And on LinkedIn, you definitely have access to so many free advice that people are giving. Like there's a Vision Advisory Committee who does LinkedIn reviews. They'll give you information. What I did was I would actually see if there are people who are ready to share their time, and I could book appointments with them. And then you know that half an hour is there for your informational interview. So do more informational interviews. I joined a forum, the Toronto AML, that gave me more opportunities to connect and network, because again, you can't network in person. And somehow, I feel virtual networking has just made it more easy. So the important aspect is to focus on your personalized invite. So definitely make sure that you're focusing on all of these aspects like nature of the job, location, hours. You have to customize your resume, and definitely include a cover letter even if it's not required. So I also see one question where people are saying that they did send down a resume which was exactly a 90% or more than a 90% price match, and a skill match, and they still didn't hear back. So if you did not get chosen for a job, and if you were able to find out who the recruiter was or who the manager was, send them a LinkedIn request. Ask them informally if there was any feedback that they could share with you. Sometimes if you're just applying through the site, you're not able to reach a person. But if you see somebody who's a manager, maybe ask them if you could talk to them about an informational interview as well. So we're just going to very briefly talk about the interviews, and I want to focus on the digital aspect as well. And then I think we'll try to wrap up for some question and answers. So for digital interviews or for in-person interviews, you must always make sure that you have done your research in advance, because that just makes it that much more comfortable. You'll sound more confident. Like for example, when I had to go to downtown Toronto from Whitby, I spent one day making sure I knew what train was going at what time, where did I have to go, who did I have to meet, did I have the business address. I made sure my phone was charged before I had the Go train pass. So you want to make sure that all of these things are done a day before so that you've got your logistics in place. And this is for digital interviews as well. Don't go into the basement of a house the first time you're doing a digital interview where there's no lighting, there's very bad signal, and just similar to how Sonia and I were trying, we had to log in 3 or 4 times today because we were having internet issues. But then she had a plan B. She said, okay, so Gia, if this doesn't work, here is what we can do so that we have a plan B, and then this can still go through. So that way you should have your logistics down pat. Prepare for the interview. So I'm going to share a personal example for myself. I wanted to change my profile at a particular stage, and I wanted to speak to the manager. So like we had set up an interview, and I worked on my branding. So branding is basically you're professionally dressed, even if it's a telephone interview. It was a WebEx, but I was professionally dressed. There was good lighting. I had checked the internet connection. I had made sure I was signed on 10 minutes before, and I spent time on branding, but I also spent time in preparing for the interview. So when I actually looked at what I was going to talk about, I looked up a few facts and figures. And when I started talking to that person, and when I first dropped the few facts and figures, that person was blown away. They said, like, I've spoken to so many people over the past 1 year, no one's come up with any numbers for me. You're the first person who actually spent time and got me some numbers. The other opportunity where I was applying for, I actually spent time learning about what kind of different products that company offered. So for example, it is a mortgage company. It's called True North, and they have different variety of products. So I just looked up a few products, and then I had my questions down as well. So when they said, do you have any questions for us? I actually had written down those questions, and I said, okay, if I have these 5 minutes, can you tell me a bit about these products? Can you tell me how they are in line for what's happening in Canada these days? So your research is extremely important, and so you want to make sure that you've done your research, you're confident, and you've prepared questions. So in Canada, the most important thing is that we have behavioral or situational questions. And usually what we do is we use the STAR approach, which is the situation, task, action, and results. So the situation could be that there was a client who had come in with a check and she wanted to deposit the check, but when I questioned her, because the check was of a larger amount, she said that this was a check she had received because she received a recruitment offer online. She had been offered a job, and the company had sent her $10,000 to buy office equipment and then send them back $2,000. So right off the bat, it seemed very suspicious. So when I started talking to the client, she got offended. She said, why can't I deposit this? This is my money. So I took time and I kind of explained to her that there are a lot of scams going on and no one's going to be sending her money extra and asking her to send back a little less money back. And if she ends up cashing this check and we give her the money, she's going to be out of the 10,000 because the check is going to bounce, but she is going to be financially responsible for the 10,000. So she had started getting irate. When I took the time, I stepped back, I took the time and I explained it to her. She actually understood and she was very thankful. So what happened was that we put a hold on the check. We sent it down to check authentication for fraud verification, and the check came back as fraud. So you want to talk about like this. So you want to use the STAR approach, the situation, task, action, and response. And you want to be prepared for behavioral questions. So tell me about a time when you showed leadership qualities. Tell me about a time when the person was very difficult. Tell me about a time when you had a conflict with your coworker. How did you resolve that conflict? And you want to read out about the culture of the organization as well. So we're just gonna now go to the next step. So definitely firm handshake means feel more comfortable about yourself. You show interest, you make sure that you're listening, listen first and answer. So a feedback that I got from a client that I was helping was that I listened more than I spoke. And that's how you gather information. Even if you're doing an informational gathering interview, that's how you should do. Always confirm the next steps, thank the interviewer for their time, and follow up with an email. Say, thank you, Mr. Smith. I really enjoyed the interview. This is what stood out for me. I'm so excited at the aspect of joining your organization, and I feel my experience can definitely help in reaching or making sure that we are in the client's pack. And then just send an email or just reach out. So even if you don't hear back, then just send an email. Be persistent. I have someone who is a banking advisor similar to me who first reached out to a manager a year ago, and then every month he would just chime in and say, hey, I'm still here, how are you doing, I'm still interested. He actually managed to get the job 1 year later, but he showed perseverance. He was always reaching out to her saying, is there something I can do? Hey, I completed this course, I'm excited now, do you think we can talk? So be respectful of the other person's time, but obviously you want to be talking about that. So these are a few questions that you can kind of note down. What is your weakness? How did you handle a difficult situation? And as I said, use that template of the star for each question. Write down these questions and practice them. You can get them from the prepped site as well. It will give you a list of questions. And so as they said, you didn't get a job, now what? So not the end of the world. There are other opportunities, and definitely a way for you to get an answer, a personal answer, is if you had the opportunity to connect with the person through LinkedIn, through an email. When you apply through RBC or BMO, you get an email back saying, we evaluated you against other people who applied, and we're moving on with another. That's a generic email. You're never going to get a response. But maybe you reach out to a branch manager at RBC through LinkedIn and say, this is what I've been doing. I haven't been getting some good response. Do you think you could spend 15 minutes, or if I could have some time, just do an informational interview with you? And 9 out of 10 times people will be happy if they have the time. And now we're finally going to get to that point where you're at the job. It's exciting and very happy for you. Maybe you think about me a little bit, but and we're back to where we started, right? You want to rock the first impression, be professionally dressed. And we're back to the first thing again, that tell me about yourself. So congratulations, Gia, welcome to the team. Can you tell me a bit about yourself? So again, I'm going back to that. Always look at other opportunities. Once you're there, focus on the Canadian culture. There are some things that you might want to look at, like there is Toronto Raptors, any place that you go maybe might have a sports team. You might have Blue Jays, you might have some music, anything where you can integrate yourself and maybe have that to do small talk. That will be great as well. Always look for future successes, something called as a goal setting. Always make sure you're setting up time with your manager to review where you are and where you can go. Arrive on time, make sure you're arriving early, dressing appropriately, being confident, taking time, and then just relax. You're hired for a reason. It's the first day. You've been through a long journey. It's time to celebrate. So I look forward to just hearing all of your success stories, and hopefully you can share them with me about how you were able to navigate the journey. There are tons and tons of resources, Prepped, ACCESS Employment, RBC Future and Launch, and definitely LinkedIn. So let me know if you have other ideas or any questions, and I'm going to stop here and hand it over to Sonia.
Thank you so much. I know there's questions here. So how do you want to do this, Jia? Do you want to continue taking the questions?
Yeah, sure. I can do that.
Okay.
So I have one question here. It says, how does one get to know about volunteering jobs? So volunteering jobs, definitely you can look up at volunteer.ca. That's the Canadian job site, the volunteer site. You can look that up and you'll find opportunities. There is Charity Village, which is non-profit, and it has a lot of virtual options. If you follow somebody on LinkedIn and they are doing a fundraiser or something, you can volunteer there as well. I did the enhanced language training course. It allowed me to be an intern at an organization. I was not paid, so you can call it a volunteering as well. But it did give me the opportunity to go and work in a financial institution and gain that insight into the Canadian work environment. And the other question, so all this information is available, Howard, on the RBC Future Launch website. You can see videos, you can download the templates, and you can actually look up all the websites. I recommend Prep because I went over there and I saw that it can actually help you write that introduction or elevator pitch as well, and gives you ideas about more of these events that are happening. And Tarun says that despite great resumes, you don't hear back from firms including RBC, even though you're good at the ATS. So as I said, definitely that can happen. I would recommend that you search for branch managers RBC, or you search for somebody in capital markets RBC, wherever you are interested in, and send them this invite. Like when I send down an invite, I just say, my name is Gia. I have the experience in finance. I'm interested in this, and just looking forward to connecting with you. Once they accept your connect request, then you just say, hi, very happy to have connected with you. And then, maybe read one of their posts and just put a comment on that. So for example, I heard that now BMO had mentioned that 80% of their task force might work from home. So once I was connected with that person, I said, I read this article and I was so happy to hear that. And that's actually the need of the hour, and I try to build rapport. So you want to build rapport first. And then once you've built a rapport, you've kind of interacted with them twice or thrice. Then you can say, I'm looking for job opportunities in the Canadian market. Is there a possibility for me to have 15 minutes of your time for an informational interview? Be clear on what you want, and would next week or the week after work for you, and they'll get back to you. You can actually reach out to, as I said, there was a visionary advisory committee. There are people on that. And I have actually booked time with them on LinkedIn, and they gave me 30 minutes of their time. I wanted to know more about the anti-money laundering aspect. And that person gave me a lot of his time, gave me his information. So if you reach out to people who are already mentioning on LinkedIn that they're happy to help, they can give you an insight about the Canadian banking and, Canadian industry, any work environment. I also reached out to the RBC Meeting Place. If you can search it on LinkedIn. So the RBC Meeting Place advisors, that's probably what they do day in, day out. They're doing these meetups. They are mentoring people, and you can reach out to them and they'll be happy to help you as well. So if you feel you're not getting anywhere, then it's time for, either getting your LinkedIn profile critiqued, or getting some information from someone through an informational interview, or just making more connections. If you were to maybe reach out to a recruiter and then tell them, this is maybe the resume I'm having, and, I'm leading to roadblocks. Can you give me some suggestions? People will be happy to do that. And the other question I have is that the person says that I got a job as an FSR with securities trading firm, and I haven't had an interview with the big five. And I somehow feel that my application never reaches a recruiter. So yeah, if that's what's happening to you, either, a couple of things, you tailor your resume to the job description, or you could also potentially try to reach out to recruiters on LinkedIn. The website that you can get all this information is RBC Future Launch. And I'll go back to the first page. I think it's on the first page. Yeah, so rbc.com/future launch. Sometimes people may not respond to LinkedIn, but you just got to be persistent. And people do read cover letters as well. And definitely if you don't send a cover letter, it's actually something that goes against you. So they're saying, okay, that person didn't send a cover letter. Maybe I'll look at that person's resume later on. So yes, people don't respond on LinkedIn sometimes, but just be persistent and reach out to other person. There is no age limit for people for looking a job in Canada. Yes, you might be overqualified for certain jobs, but you can then maybe upskill yourself for another opportunity. There are definitely a lot of courses on LinkedIn, on Allison, on the RBC Future Launch at Home. You can look up those courses as well. And another question here. Just trying to scroll down. Okay. So there's a person who's saying that they're from the loan lending underwriting profile. What's the right course in it? So if you're from the loan lending and underwriting profile, depending on your interest, retail banking could be something that you might be interested in. You can actually go to the CSC website and you can look up the different kind of courses that are available. There is some information on Access Employment. I did look it up today as well. And just search for financial courses in Canada. You can do the investment funds in Canada. You can do the Canadian securities course. There are underwriting courses as well. So you can look at those courses. So you don't need to include any specific thing in your resume. It's more about a template. It does look good. I mean, that's an example. You can look to change it as well, but usually we do tend to put this in just because we want to make sure that, you know, there is an objective to what we're doing. So I think those are the questions that I had. Are there any more questions?
Yeah, thank you so much, Gia. I'm going to just share my last few slides here. So you did a great job answering the questions. I think you answered more than they were the questions that were there. So thank you so much again. And thank you all for watching today. Just wanted to let you know that the next webinar coming up is this Thursday, October 29th, called Recruiting 101, Resumes, Cover Letters, Interviews, and more. So it's like a whole combo of everything. So it'll be great. I think it's focused more on your questions. So please register for that one. And and then we will answer your questions there. And for people who are interested in registering for more workshops, online webinars, go to accessemployment.ca/online event series. We have a lot of workshops that you can watch over there as well. And there's more coming up sometime this week. We will be posting next month's workshops as well. And as I mentioned, please take advantage of taking bridging programs right now because you can do it from the comfort of your own home. And you can also check out our e-resource guide. So if you go to eaccess.accessemployment.org, you can check out a lot of different e-resources that will be helpful to you. And if you'd like to practice, you know, just speaking and just having a conversation in English, join Talk English Cafe. There are fun sessions held pretty much all week long. So register for that as well, and you can make new online friends, and you can, you know, just practice speaking English. And if you'd like someone to help you with your job search, you can call your closest Access location, and someone can start helping you with your job search right away. For people who are not in Canada yet but will be arriving in a few months, you may be eligible for our Canadian Employment Connections program. So for that, please email cec@accessemployment.ca to see if you're eligible. And again, thank you all. There is a survey at the end of the webinar. Please fill it out. And if you want to know what's happening at ACCES, follow us on our social media on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook. Gia, thank you so very much. We would love to have you back again. This one was a surprise, so we're happy that she was able to come back and run such a great workshop, and she was able to answer a lot of questions, which I'm very grateful for. So thank you again, Gia.
Thank you, Sonia. Thank you, everyone. Stay safe and stay strong.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great week ahead.
Bye-bye.